What's up, guys? And we are live. Chuck Silver and Nick Marro here with Occupy Fantasy to bring you strategy for DraftKings and FanDuel. I think we got a pretty good slate today. Nick, how you doing? What do we think about today?
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good in that most of these games should be competitive. There's a lot to pay up for, some pretty obvious pivots in terms of chalk. But yeah, wouldn't mind a little bit more value to open up. I mean, right now, we got a few spots we can take a look at. But yeah, I'm thinking some more news could hopefully break in our favor and make this a little bit more fun to build. But yeah, right now, I mean, I don't know, a lot of competitive games, usually a good thing.
Yeah, and my spot of the night is Boston Cleveland, highest total, and seems underowned to me. So we'll dig into that. And then I think New York's a really good spot too, assuming at least one of those starters is out again. Heath, good to see you. Ben Jeezy, thanks for being here. Jerry, good to be a new regular. Hey, we're happy to have you, man. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for giving us a shot. Unicorn, yeah, tonight's the night. We've had sweats like every day. It just like yesterday. These scores are just ridiculous. You got to hit the perfect nuts, and you just had to have the perfect combo yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't have the best day, but I had some pretty high scores. But again, everyone's scoring high when we have too much value. So today's almost the opposite of that. But I do think things probably change a little bit between now and lock.
I hope so. We are. We did get some news for this first game, Mavericks Philadelphia.
Hmm.
Let's take a look at Dallas. Um, 1 second. All right, so we have Quentin Grimes got traded today to Sixers. First of all, they gave up a pick to get Caleb Martin, and they gave up the better player in the trade. Makes no sense. PJ
Yeah,
Washington's out, and Derek Lively's out. Anthony Davis is out too. Nick, what do we think about Dallas? Go ahead.
yeah. I mean, Kyrie's gonna look fine here. I don't know. There's a lot of good guards to choose from on this slate. He is certainly one of them. Other than that, I mean, I do like Gafford. Even with Embiid, and he continues to produce at a really high level. Should probably be a little bit more expensive than he is, especially over on DraftKings. Other than that, it's tough to feel great about anything. I think both Clay and Dinwiddie are kind of viable where their price is last pieces in. Maxi Prosper, if he does start again, probably someone you can mix in as well. But yeah, Christie coming off the bench tonight. He's going to be getting a few minutes. Could cut into guys like Marshall Exum. So I don't want too much off of this bench. If anything, it's probably Kyrie and then some Gafford. But again, I don't know that I want to lock up these early spots knowing we're still waiting on some news.
Yeah, and for me, the biggest piece of news is Miles Turner, and we're going to get that news probably after the rest of the games start. We have Lakers, Clippers, Indiana, Portland, 2 hours after the rest of the games, and so I currently have Miles Turner out. We'll talk about that when we get to Indiana, but for me, that's a source of value. I'm really hoping for. It's just tough because if he's not out, then I'm screwed, being stuck with Thomas Bryant. So,
Yeah.
did you mention Dante Exum?
I said that he could maybe see his minutes chopped a slight bit with Christie available, but again, with Grimes out of the picture, that probably just cancels out, probably neutralizes. So yeah, I don't think it's insane to maybe mix it next.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this with these guys that maybe enter the rotation newly for whatever reason. Exum's just been hurt, but the model thinks he's terrible. Projected for 19, he played 14 and 21 in the two games so far. So I think he's an interesting pivot. Not too excited. I do have more than this 1% currently, though.
It's fair.
He's like a perfect pivot to Cam Whitmore.
Yeah, I don't know. He is, but at the same time, it's like, what's his ceiling? Like, I'd rather go with more, I think, or wait for something later.
Yeah, for me, Gafford is really the only piece I'm super interested in this game, and then GPP shots on Kyrie.
Same.
Other side, Philadelphia, we got Drummond out, PJ Washington out. I'm sorry, PJ Washington's on Dallas. Uh, Jesus. Drummond, Paul George, Eric Gordon are out. Embiid is in. We have word he's on a 30 minutes limit. So what do you want to do with Philadelphia?
Yeah, it's going to be kind of tricky here. I still think we could go to Maxi as a pay up guard, especially if Embiid being available is going to kind of drive down that ownership. He's come down a bit in terms of OF index, obviously, with Embiid in there. But if Embiid's going to be limited, I mean, I don't know. We've just seen the ceiling out of Maxi. Even when this team's healthy, we know what he's capable of. And Dallas, in its current form, definitely not a tough defensive matchup, really, for anyone. Embiid, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to take a look at him right now. I know on DK the price is a little bit tough to get to. 8,400 on FanDuel though, 30 minutes of him against Dallas. I think that's pretty appealing, especially if he's going to stay sub 10%. So as a tournament center on FanDuel, I don't mind mixing in some Embiid. I do think Maxi, Oubre are kind of fine. But again, neither really a priority here. Again, just tough to really get bullish on an early game unless we had some obvious value. They are a little bit healthier with Embiid coming back here. So yeah, I think they're just kind of, I don't know, overpriced for the most part. But again, Maxi Oubre fine tournament plays, and then Embiid on FanDuel does interest me for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's just their price for Embiid to be out, and he's not out anymore, so they're all pretty tough. On DraftKings, I'm not getting exposure to anyone on this team, but on FanDuel, I'm willing to take some shots on Embiid for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Something else. And Yabusele starting at power forward. Did you have much interest in him at 6K?
No, none. When he starts at center and Drummond's out, I don't mind going to him because he gets all those boards. But standing next to Embiid, that definitely cuts into his upside.
All right, we'll go to the Boston Cleveland game next. I see a question from Jose. Who's the highest? Well, my highest exposed game is Boston Cleveland. That wasn't the question I wanted to get to, though. In what world is Gafford more expensive than Porzingis? Let's take a look.
Hmm.
Yeah, so, well, today, wait, wrong teams. Boston and Dallas. So Gafford, Porzingis is better on the model than Gafford. Porzingis better value score on both sites. Same price, same ownership. So the model's telling us that we can play Porzingis over Gafford. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, at the same ownership, I think it's a pretty good play. Again, not the best matchup here for Porzingis. He's been super productive, but again, Gafford is going to see increased usage with I don't know, AD and others out for Dallas. Going to take a while to get used to saying that. But yeah, man, I don't know. I think they're super similar plays. It's just if there's no major gap in ownership or price, then I don't know. I like both of them. It's
Yeah,
just yeah, if there was a bigger gap in ownership, I'd probably have a firmer stance.
I agree. Yeah, I'm basically the same on both. I'm right around the field. Don't really have a strong preference. They're both only center on DraftKings. At least on FanDuel, Porzingis has power forward eligibility, but I'm a
That's
little bit
big
less.
again.
It is big. Yeah, I am less interested in him over there at that price, though.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this game, though. Let's start with Boston. What else are you interested in from here?
I mean, you can make a case for any of the starters. Whenever Boston is in a game that's actually supposed to be competitive, you usually see them score pretty well. Cleveland, obviously, a good defensive team, but they play really fast. So we have a high total here for a reason. Should be pretty back and forth. I think Tatum and Brown both look fine. I mean, Brown a little bit easier to get to. I think Tatum, obviously, slightly higher ceiling. But they're pretty good pieces to build around, especially reasonable ownership. Derek White could get hot. I do think Drew Holiday is a little bit cheap for what he's capable of. At the same time, he's kind of shown the floor more often than not lately, so I don't want to be too bullish on him. But you can really make a case for any of the starters here. Whoever brought up Porzingis, I think he's probably my favorite, even though Cleveland has been a really solid defense in the front court this season, just underpriced compared to his teammates here. Seeing enough usage consistently that he's going to be hitting these ceilings, even with Boston healthy. So really like Porzingis, fine mixing in Brown, Tatum, and you can make a case for the guards here as well. Not much interest in the bench. Again, this is a very healthy team compared to what they've been most of the season. Not even that as much as they've been resting one of Horford, Hauser, Pritchard most nights, or someone out of the starting lineup. So if everyone's available here, I have trouble getting to the guys that are on the bench. But I do think all the starters can have a case be made for them. Porzingis is probably my favorite of the group.
Yeah, Porzingis is the guy I'm getting the most exposure to, and I'm sure I'm going to adjust this. But next for me is actually Jaylen Brown over on DraftKings,
Yeah.
and then a few percent of the rest of the starters. Zero exposure to the bench. I do want to point out Peyton Pritchard's price is coming down. He's only 1% owned. He's 4,900. Like Nick said, we're a little starved for value, and so at 1% owned, I don't think he's the worst play in the large fields.
No, it's just usually for Pritchard to get the run you want him to. Like someone's going to be out, whether it's Horford or one of the guys that starts. So I don't know. I have trouble expecting his minutes to be at his like season average. But yeah, if we're starving for value, it's definitely not the worst place sub 5K.
Especially, we just aren't going to project blowout here. I mean, 2 point spread, 239 total. This is a game I'm really interested. I guess I'm not getting as much exposure to the Boston side, but over on the Cleveland side, I'm way over on Donovan Mitchell. I'm over on Darius Garland. I'm over on Mobley, and then I'm curious to hear what you think about Karis LeVert because I'm over on him too.
Yeah, I mean the price just seems wrong on him. 3,800. I know he's coming off the bench. I know the minutes can kind of be volatile at times, but I don't know. We have him for how many? 23. I think that's pretty conservative, honestly. You could play as many as 26 here.
Yeah.
Definitely runs a lot of that second unit too. I mean Garland and Mitchell have been playing a lot of their minutes together this season. Both performing really well in doing so. So I'm fine with Levert. Yeah, I can't sit here and say he's the safest play because he is coming off the bench. Boston, very good team defensively as well. But I mean, to find 30-point upside sub 4K, it's tough to do on this slate. Levert does fit that category. It just kind of depends on your risk tolerance.
Yeah, and it's not like the field thinks Levert's a smash today. They only have 10% projected ownership for him, 0% on
Yeah,
FanDuel. So, yeah, don't mind getting over the field. Don't want to jam him in, but I think he's fine to take the risk on.
absolutely.
Any interest in Max Struess or George Niang, the only other player pulling ownership here?
Yeah, I mean, Struess is like a last piece in. I mean, he finishes with like 25 fantasy points or just shy of it every single day. At his price, that's not going to kill you. Pretty much need everything else in your lineup to do really well, though, for that to work out. But I don't think as a last piece in, he's a bad play. But yeah, I think Garland and Mitchell both look really solid. I do slightly prefer Garland for the discount. And then Mobley and Allen, same thing. Kind of reverse, though. I think I prefer paying up for Mobley at really low ownership than I do paying for Allen here against Boston. Mobley's been putting up big numbers lately. Obviously, not as easy of a matchup as some of the ones he's finding success in, but 23% usage his last 3 games is something I like to see for him. So Mobley a lot and Garland a lot, and yeah, mixing in the rest of the starters.
Yeah, I'm with you on everything here. Jared Allen projected for 2% on both sites. I have, if the slate started right now, I have 7% on DraftKings, and then Evan Mobley, I have 18%. So I'm pretty well over. But I think it's a spot that we can get to more than the field.
Agreed.
Let's go back to Houston, Brooklyn. Talk about your Nets, man. Start with them.
Yeah, man. I mean, I actually think this could be a relatively competitive game. Obviously, we're trying to avoid blowouts, things like that. I know whenever the Nets are on a slate, that's the first question we get. Are we worried about blowout? But this is a back to back for the Rockets. They are without Fred VanVleet. They're a little bit banged up. And the Nets are actually supposed to field one of their more healthy rosters tonight. We got Russell, Keon, and Zaire all active. I think you could play any of them. I definitely feel the best about D'Lo, even though his minutes are going to be capped. They are tanking to the extent that even in close games, they're kind of pulling Russell in the fourth quarter. So he hasn't been getting over 30 minutes. So point per dollar, I don't know, probably not the best play here. Keon Johnson's been consistently over 30 minutes. Zaire Williams as well. I think those two are the better point per dollar plays here. But again, this game is a 212-point total. The Nets aren't a good team. Jordy's going to continue to kind of flatten minutes as they showcase some of these guys for the trade deadline as well. So yeah, I don't know that I feel great about anything here, but if you're landing on Zaire or Keon, I wouldn't talk you off playing them.
On my initial build this morning, I was getting a ton of Zaire. I was with the field, but now I'm at like 4 or 5%. I have 8% D'Angelo and 7% Keon. I'm comfortable if I go into lock with those.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want my night to hinge on them, but as like last pieces in, the minutes have been there for them, even more so than they have for say Claxton or Russell.
Well, I was going to ask, do you think Claxton is worth some GPP shots at 0 and 1%? I know there's a lot of centers that we like today at basically every price range.
I mean, he's just cheap enough where I think it's a conversation worth having. At the same time, there's not a ton of meat on the bone because I don't think he's going to play 30 minutes. It's been a really long time. He played 36 against Utah on the 12th of January. No idea why. But yeah, over the past 2 weeks, he hasn't gotten to 30. We have him for 29. He's going to have a really crazy good night if he's not going to get to 30 minutes. So I'm not loving it, man. I do think at like 1%, sure, fine. Maybe he gets some extra run. This game's competitive and Jordy decides to go for one. But yeah, I don't feel great about it.
So with the lack of value, any interest in taking shots on Dayron Sharp at 4,400? I'll mention his points, rebounds, assist line today is like 14.5, and I did take the over. Not quite enough at 4,400, but
Yeah, I mean, again, another guy who you can't really count on minutes, but when he's on the floor, he produces pretty well. He's supposedly on the trade block, who isn't, I guess, on the Nets right now, but high ceiling for him at his price, very low floor though. Fine with him in large field tournaments, but it again depends on your risk tolerance. He could come out with a single digit tonight, and it wouldn't be shocking at all. At the same time, we've seen him put up over 25, 30 fantasy points. It's just his price is up now to 4,400 on DK. I was much more intrigued by him when he was a little bit cheaper. And then on FanDuel, it's like you're never really going to want to use your center spot on a player like that. We haven't projected for 20 minutes. It's just not enough for me right now.
yeah, I agree. Full fade on FanDuel for sure, and then I guess maybe a deep consideration on DraftKings.
Yeah, pretty deep.
Just in case Boucher's out, Bruce Brown is in. Bruce Brown's price is down. We'll take a look when we get to Toronto. Our favorite Celtics is Porzingis. I think for both of us,
Yep.
that's correct. And then Hardy looks like a pivot to Levert. Let's go back to Dallas real quick. I guess we skipped over Jaden Hardy, but Kyrie's back in the rotation today, and I guess we didn't talk about Spencer Dinwiddie either. But any interest in either of those guys at all?
I don't mind Dinwiddie. Proceed with caution on Hardy. I don't think he's a crazy play. I just think you can't count on those minutes. If you look at the game logs, he had 27 minutes, 28 fantasy points against Cleveland. Dallas lost that game by I think like 60 points or something ridiculous. That was a blowout before it even started. Like that game was a blowout in the first half. Hardy on the floor had 34% usage. So I don't think you can really look at the game logs and expect him to kind of match what he did there. Again, Christie now available as well. So yeah, if you're basing it on the Cleveland game, I would say no. But if you have other reasons to like him here, I get it. He's cheap enough that maybe he could be worth the dice roll.
I'd rather just take the chance that something else opens up later. We haven't projected
Yeah,
for less than 10 minutes, and I gave him 12. I guess when I did my rotation, so it's really tough there because Dante
yeah. That
Exum's here
Cleveland
too.
game is deceiving. Don't look at the minutes from that game.
No PJ, no Grimes. Yeah, but it's there's still players back. Like Max Christie's in the rotation today, and like I mentioned, Kyrie's back too. So
Yeah,
it's
Kessler
tough.
Edwards been ahead of him on the depth chart as well.
Yeah. Um, let's talk about Houston. We just got so I thought Sengun was probable, but I just got a notification that he's a game time decision. Does that change whether
Wow.
you think he plays or not?
Um, I mean, if you're MA, you probably think you could rest him for another night here against the Nets. Probably get the win pretty easily. We saw last night with him out, Eason and Tate on the start. We know that Eason's already out,
Yeah.
so there is a world where Steven Adams becomes a very, very appealing center option here. I think some of us were kind of hoping for it last night until that lineup came out. He still produced extremely well in 26 minutes, had over 27 fantasy points. So Adams would super quickly become like one of the best value plays on the slate, if not the best. I know I already really like Cam Whitmore coming off the bench with some of these wings out. If Sengun's out, that's only going to secure minutes for him as well. So yeah, if Sengun's in, I guess you could play him. Again, I don't know that I want to pay up for him compared to some of the other options we have at center. But if he's out, it's going to boost Tate a lot. It's definitely going to boost Adams, Whitmore, and we already, I think, like Thompson and Green with Van Fleet out. So yeah, Rockets already pretty appealing here. I know it's a low total, but they're missing some bodies, and that's more than can be said for a lot of the teams that are on this slate.
Yeah, dude. Cam Whitmore yesterday was showing up so much for me, and I like the other guys more, so I didn't
I know. I wish
allow
I
it.
got more. Yeah.
And today, he's one of my highest owned values, projected for 30%. I will mention, in terms of value on his own team, he is the cheapest guy. He's not quite at the top. 14.8 is still strong today. I mean, if we compare it to the rest of the slate, Cam Whitmore is not a bad play. But there are
Right.
other guys I think we can also mix in with him. And keep in mind, this is all with Sengun in. Jalen Green looks awesome. Amin Thompson looks awesome. So I imagine at least Amin would look better if Sengun gets ruled out. But I
Yeah.
like getting to all of these guys. I built as if Sengun was going to play, so I'm going to like him even more if he's out. Dylan Brooks, awesome value score. Jayshawn Tate, really strong value score. Did not play that many minutes even in the start yesterday. I kind of expect him to start again, but he's kind of a deep player for me even at 3,100.
I mean, at 3,100, he's rating is the best DK value on the slate, which is a little bit surprising. But
Scary.
yeah, I mean, with Eason out, I do feel a little bit better about him. So even with Sengun is in, as long as he's starting, I do think Tate's probably one of the safer value plays.
I mean, 22 minutes yesterday. We're happy with that at the price.
Oh yeah,
Poor production, but we'll take the 22 minutes for sure.
yeah,
And like Nick said, yeah, he is the is he number one? Number one.
yeah. He's not quite number one on FanDuel. He's three on FanDuel, but yeah, he's up there.
Jason
Jalen
Tate.
Green, number one on FanDuel. Last I refreshed, which is crazy.
I was gonna point out he's showing up as like the best pay up points per dollar. Him, Cat, Porzingis. But yeah, Jalen Green really stands out. His ownership was lower earlier. I still think this is kind of low. We can get over this.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, you pull up Houston, you can make a case that most of this team is underowned. Eamon Thompson getting the love he deserves over on FanDuel, but on DK, where he's actually 100 cheaper, only 6% owned, maybe we're under projecting the ownership there. I can't wrap my head around that. Even on the back to back, I think that's a little bit insane. Again, we got to keep in mind Van Fleet's out too, so we're already seeing more usage for these starters, especially the backcourt.
I have 20% aiming right now, and I want more, but it's kind of scary since I'm already 5x the field. Like, this is a lot. That's a big stand that I'm taking, but I think it's right, so I'm going to go for it. And then I'm over on Jalen Green, too. Not sure how over I can get on him because the price is kind of unappealing, but model's telling us the price is really good, so
Yep.
going to bump him up more
Yeah,
because of
I
that.
honestly he's in my first build on both sides.
Nice. Nice. Will Rozier start? Just pulling up the rotation from yesterday. He didn't start in their last game. I don't think that would change today, right?
Yeah, it's probably going to be Hero, Robinson, Highsmith, Bam, Ware. Doesn't necessarily hurt Terry. He's played 30 plus minutes in back to back games coming off the bench. So, yeah, I'm fine going there. But, yeah, it's almost like his investigation got cleared and Spo decided he could play in 30 minutes.
Sengun, he was probable earlier, but the new notification is he's a game time decision, so it didn't say downgrade to Q, but it feels like a downgrade to Q.
Yeah, yeah.
Enough to take a swing on Cam Whitmore. Yeah, showing up as a good value. I mean, like I said, he's not the top value of the day at considering the ownership, but he's still a strong play.
Yeah, the thing with Cam Whitmore, he's going to be capped around 22 minutes regardless of who's in or out. So I think I like him anyway. But yeah, kind of going through his game logs. I mean, he played 22 and 23 in a back to back on the 15th and 16th. So no real limits there. That was something I was going to look into. But yeah, you get 22 minutes of him. I probably need him to be better than a point per minute producer at that price to be something you want. But again, on a slate we're starting for value, I think he makes a lot of sense.
I thought they did clear Rozier. They found no wrongdoing. He was just bad.
Right, right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Since he's gotten cleared,
Yeah,
he's been playing over 30 minutes.
yeah. Uh, Next game, I have some interest in this team. The Knicks mentioned we have Josh Hart probable, Cat probable, Mikal Bridges probable. OG is out. What do you want to do
That's
with
the
the
big one.
Knicks? I'm well over on this team too.
Yeah, I mean Towns is pretty popular over on DK as he should be sub 10K. I do like him over there. Precious is interesting. I mean, he seems like he's one of Tibbs's guys that he's going to be willing to run him into the ground, which we obviously love for fantasy. But historically, I mean, the minutes have been inconsistent for him. If he's starting at the four again for OG, I do like him on both sites. On DK because he's under own, he has forward eligibility. On FanDuel, he's super popular, but at that price and with forward eligibility, he's pretty tough to get away from. Only 5% usage in 34 minutes yesterday, and he still got over 22 fantasy points. I mean, that's going to be a career low for him. I know he's not a high usage player, but we got to expect more than 5%. So, yeah, I do like Precious here. I don't know, not crazy about the price now that it's up, but at the same time, the minutes are there, and that's more than we can say for a lot of the other guys in this price range on this slate. So, pretty good piece. I don't know that he has a ton of upside where he's priced, but I do think he's safe in that kind of mid 5K range on both sites.
Another team where I'm over on every single player here that's starting anyway, and that includes Precious. And just assuming he starts again, Tibbs just wants to run his starters into the ground. So these minutes might seem kind of high, but honestly, I think they're all underprojected by at least two.
Yeah.
So I gave these guys extra 2 minutes and I'm way over on all of them. I think they're all really good plays. It's only a 5.5 point spread against Toronto. That sounds low. Uh,
Yeah.
there's a couple pieces I'm getting to on Toronto, I guess. More fades on Toronto, but I don't know. I think this is a good team to target, kind of like Cleveland and Boston is.
Yeah, definitely. It's not like OG takes up a ton of usage when he's on the floor, but a few extra minutes goes a long way for these guys. So you can make a case for any of the starters, really.
So Cat's the top play on the model, but he is not the player. He's my third highest exposed on this team. I'm getting more Josh Hart and more Jalen Brunson. Brunson's third, Josh Hart. It's actually pretty close. I mean, he's on the first page. I don't have to scroll to see his name, which is a good sign. But I like all of them. Cat, 23% sounds fine. The price is good. He's been playing terrible, but he played 38.5 minutes yesterday.
Yeah, and I know we don't want to dig too deeply into game logs, but he's been mashing Toronto. The last two times these teams played, he's gone over 55 fantasy points. Toronto's defense is just bad overall, but they are a little bit better in the backcourt than they are in the front court. Brunson's actually had 4 games against them, his last two. And again, these are very short trends, so I don't want to look too deeply into it, but I think that's why Cat is getting more love because the front court's been super soft here, and they've done a decent job kind of containing Brunson. Again, 2 game sample, don't overthink it. But I do prefer Cat.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like the model's higher on Cat today than usual. My rates when I first went into it this morning for Cat, I looked at the projection. I said, what? So Cat. Yeah, it
Yeah,
looks awesome today.
yeah, such a good matchup for opposing centers.
On the other side of this game, we have two pieces of chalk value, Agbaji and Grady Dick, and I kind of want to get away from both of them. It's really hard. I still have a ton of Grady Dick, and I knocked him down quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean Grady's pretty much priced where he should be. I think Agbaji's super similar, just cheaper. I don't know. I'm fine if I'm landing on either. At the same time, if they're popular, I'm very comfortable getting away from that ownership.
It's just the model likes both of them, so it's really hard because I mean Agbaji's number 4 on DraftKings, Grady Dick's also top 10, but they feel terrible, so they're in there. I can't X them out because we need some value, but if you can find pivots, I think I'd rather find basically any other pivot that you can.
Yeah, I will say the DK price on Agbaji is like the main reason. Like, I don't think he's ever been this cheap before.
And Boucher, do you know how many minutes we had for Boucher before? It couldn't have been more than like 15, 16 minutes,
15.
right?
Yeah, I think 14 or 15.
Let me just refresh this real quick. So maybe Bruce Brown fills in a couple minutes. I guess the field thinks Grady Dick's going to get a few more minutes. I mean, do you like Bruce Brown as kind of a pivot to Grady Dick? The model doesn't.
I mean, he's been good points per minute, but the minutes have been impossible to project. He hasn't gone over 20 his last three. I probably won't get to him now.
I don't have any exposure to Bruce Brown right now, but like I said, can't get away from Grady Dick. I'm trying. Taking some shots on Pirtle and some shots on Scotty Barnes. I tried to take shots on it's because he's out today. That's why. But yeah, a few percent of Barnes and Pirtle, and that's about it for me here.
Yeah. Yeah. I do like Barnes, probably my favorite play from Toronto. Coming off a few bad games, though, it doesn't feel great to kind of click 9K when he hasn't been really putting up ceilings lately, but they're going to come for him, so I'm fine with it.
I like Pirtle. I don't understand this 21% ownership though. Maybe it's because I have a bunch of Thomas Bryant. That's why I'm not getting as much.
Yeah, that just feels a little bit inflated.
Like he's a good play. 6,400 is a good price. It's high though.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sorry, just going through the comments. Yo, is Brunson and Town? Would you play Brunson and Towns together, or play one of them with Hart?
I would personally rather play Hart and Cat than I would Brunson and Cat. But if that's where you're landing, I wouldn't argue with it. They're both underpriced.
Will a 20% player be chalky on DraftKings single entry? If someone's projected for like 20% ownership, depending who it is, if they're a good play, usually expect them to be higher owned in a single entry.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes you'll find like good plays, the higher dollar you go, the higher the percentage goes.
Do we like Zubac since Lakers have nobody in the paint now? Hey man, we got Jackson Hayes in the paint to hold it down.
Yeah, I like Zubac for sure. Yeah, I think he's a good play where he's priced.
Yeah, we'll get him when we get to the Clippers. Who's the backup center for Chicago? Is that the next game? Yeah, let's go ahead and jump to Chicago.
Jalen Smith.
Okay, so he should be good today, right? He's Q.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about playing him much. He's been pretty good.
No.
The prices come up a little bit though, so I don't know. Again, center, there's so much opportunity cost giving up that position unless you're really going to spike some upside. I don't know that he necessarily has it, even against a pretty big Miami team, and he's questionable. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't talk you off him passionately, but I don't think I'm going to get to him tonight.
1% owned, projected for 14 minutes. Model saying you don't even have to really consider it. Patrick Williams, I feel like he was higher last week, but model saying we can just ignore him too.
Yeah, he's on the bench now, even with Levine gone, with Lonzo Ball starting. So that's definitely hurting Patrick.
Yeah, Levine got traded. They do have Trey Jones and Kevin Werder on the roster. They confirmed they're not playing today. I think they're trying to move both of them, but it opens up a little bit. I mean, Josh Giddey's still the point. AO, I guess Lonzo's the point here now, but
Yeah.
I'm still not getting much exposure to this team. I have some shots on Kobe White. I really wasn't interested in Lonzo, and then same thing with Josh Giddey, GPP shots.
I mean, yeah, the Lonzo price is a bit prohibitive. They have said they're willing to play him up to 28 minutes, so he does have a 30-point ceiling now. You could use him as a value piece if you have to. Not crazy about it though. I do think White is probably my favorite play point per dollar. Giddy and Ao both look solid as well. Vooch is the interesting one to me. If he's not going to be owned, I'm probably going to force him in. Right now, he's sub 10% on both sites. I know it's not the best matchup against Bam, but extra usage for him does go a long way. He's playing as many minutes as he can handle right now. So, yeah, I don't mind any of the starters here, for being honest. Can't say any's like a core play or a priority for me, but if you're landing on any of these guys, I wouldn't really feel bad about it.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, I actually had to bump Vooch up a little bit earlier, and I still didn't get any in my last run. So um, it's
Yeah,
unfortunate. He's been good,
he's
right?
been pretty good. Yeah, he had a triple double last game.
Wait, did he really?
Um,
Missed that.
yeah, 10 assists against Detroit. Pretty crazy. But yeah, he's definitely doing a lot more with Levine gone.
Yeah, this should be a good one. He only took 10 shots. Not that he's been taking many shots in most games, but yeah, I guess I'll have
Yep,
to bump Vooch up a little bit more.
I like it.
I'll point out Lonzo Ball, good value score on DK, really good value score on FanDuel. Vooch, really good FanDuel value score too, considering the ownership and the price. Other than that, I mean, these guys are good on DraftKings. None of them super stand out, but I think any of the starters are playable. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Miami has like this rep as being such an elite defensive team. Like their identity is lacking a little bit right now. I don't think we have to be as afraid playing opposing players against them, at least for the next few weeks.
I guess I'm getting a ton of exposure to Miami. Bam, Khalil Ware, Duncan Robinson, Nikola Jovic. I think that's because I bumped down all the other value plays I don't like, but I don't love these guys either. What do you think?
I mean, this team is chalk. Chicago's been just such a great matchup for opposing everything, pretty much. I don't know. I can leave Haywood Highsmith out just because he's pretty inconsistent. He's cheap enough. The minutes are there if you really need him. But yeah, I think Hero looks excellent. I think Bam looks outstanding. They gave him forward eligibility on both sites now, which makes Bam like super, super easy to get to because, again, Khalil Ware has been starting. We're just come back down to earth a little bit after the like 4 or 5 game run where he seemed like the best fantasy play in the world. But yeah, still viable where he's priced. But yeah, I do prefer Bam if you can find the salary for him. I think both him and Hero are really, really strong plays here as long as this game is competitive and it does project to be. So fine with all of them. I do prefer Rozier off the bench over a starting Duncan Robinson just because he's a bit less scoring dependent. And again, like I mentioned before, he has been getting over 30 minutes. We've seen Rozier closing because it's tough to put Hero and Robinson next to each other in close games. The defensive lapse is just, I don't know, it makes it rough on Miami. But yeah, I don't mind a lot of this bench. Jovic as well, guy who feels a little bit too cheap for what he's been doing lately, pushing 35 fantasy points, it seems, every single night. And his price just hasn't moved. So a lot to like on Miami. The matchup helps, but yeah, Jimmy being Jimmy, uh, that helps as well. And like other, like compared to some of the other teams, like LeBron's price came way up with AD gone. Miami's prices really haven't adjusted all that much with all this Jimmy crap going on. So I do like them a lot here.
I was kind of hoping you could tell me I could get away from Jovic.
I like him. I mean, why?
I have more than this 21%. It just, I don't know,
He's
feels like a
gone for
lot.
30 plus 3 of his last 4, which is pretty much since Jimmy left again. And yeah, man, I don't know. He does a lot.
Do you care about any groups here? Like, so I have my two highest exposed players are Ware and Bam. Are you okay playing them together?
Uh, I guess so. I'm just trying to look at the game logs. It seems like their ceilings haven't overlapped. Like Bam last game went off. Ware had a pretty bad game, and then the game before that was Cleveland, so we don't have to look too deeply into that. Game before against Orlando, where Bam had a ceiling game, excuse me, was okay. So I don't know. On a slate this big, maybe set the rule to just have one of Bam or Ware. But again, we don't really have enough data that suggests they both can't get there. Like Ware in a low usage can still get over 40 fantasy points. I don't think we can say the same for Bam, but such a good matchup. Like in another matchup, I'd probably say definitely set the rule. Here, I would lean yes at 150, but if it's only in a couple lineups, I don't think you have to rebuild.
I think I kind of want to set a rule for max two from Bam, Khalil Ware, and Jovic, though, because I don't think
I
I
like
want all
that. That's
three
the
in the
way to do
lineup.
it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
okay with any two of those guys together, but I don't think I want all three. And then can I get away from Duncan Robinson? I have a lot.
I mean, point per dollar is good. He definitely has upside, but I'm always kind of comfortable getting away from popular value that's scoring dependent. And he's super, super popular on FanDuel. I think he's over on
Hmm.
there, even though he does have garden forward eligibility. But like I said, I think I'd rather play Rozier. I think I'd rather play Jovic just because they do more. It could burn me, but if the ownership leads me there, I'm happy to kind of take that stand. Jovic is very popular. Rozier is very popular. So there's really like no ownership pivot off of Duncan.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I think the other two are spiking their ceiling more often.
And then I'll mention the model really likes Haywood Highsmith for value on DraftKings, and it does not like Jaime Jaquez at all.
Yeah, I'm fine leaving Hawkins out. Highsmith, I think it's just a price more than anything. I don't know that he gets you more than 20 fantasy points, but if that allows you to really build what you want around him, then that might be all you need. I'm fine leaving him out personally because I don't see upside there. But if he's your last piece in, I do think the minutes are safe.
KJ Martin's out. Yeah, I saw the parentheses trade pending. Do I think Shake Milton's a play today? Let's talk about the Lakers. No, to answer the question. We have him for 12 minutes. It's just, I can't play someone I only have projected for 12 minutes. You would only get more if it's a blowout. That's why he went off whenever he went off.
Yeah, I have no interest.
Vanderbilt, top of the value on this team, 1% owned. I think he's worth some shots. We haven't projected for 17. He does have the potential to play a couple more, not much. I think Rui's fine. And then I guess LeBron and Austin Reeves, but the model doesn't love either of them today. What's your interest here?
My only interest in Vanderbilt is kind of a placeholder for Thomas Bryant in the utility spot.
Mm-hmm.
If Turner's ruled out, Thomas Bryant's 3,200. If Turner's ruled in, you don't want to play 3,200 Thomas Bryant. Vanderbilt's probably the only thing that cheap that you're going to be wanting to pivot to. But yeah, I think LeBron looks great. Reeves looks really good. I felt like a genius the first Hayes game that AD was out, but
That was
he
a good
put
call.
up a dud. We put up a dud against New York, though, so I don't really know how to read this one. In the
Mm-hmm.
closer game, he played less minutes. It was kind of strange. So I don't mind Hayes as like a piece to mix in, but at the same time, that good game came with Finney Smith out, I believe. So that is probably a big reason for that. So um, I actually think Finney Smith point per dollar might be better than both Hayes and Vanderbilt. It doesn't feel great to say that out loud, but he did come off a game where he played 31 minutes and. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just leave that front court alone, other than LeBron. I think Rui looks excellent. Reeves looks pretty solid where he's priced as well.
Yeah, getting a bunch of Rui. And
Yeah,
I don't know, is this kind of a pivot to Jovic? Neither of them are super owned. It's not a big deal. On
yeah. I
DraftKings,
think
anyway.
yeah, Rui's under lower owned, so yeah, I do like that pivot.
And then, I mean, Connect is okay for value at 2% owned. He's under 4K. If you want to take some shots, it's probably fine.
He's Duncan Robinson, but cheaper
And worse at basketball.
and worse, and not as his minutes aren't as safe. But yeah, very similar play otherwise.
He's supposed to be the rookie of the year, man. Uh, we get to take on the Clippers tonight, though. Zubac, super low owned. Kawhi, low owned ish. Norm Powell and James Harden. That's the guys I'm getting exposure to here. What about you?
Yeah, I think you can make a case for any of the starters, even Derek Jones on a slate with no value. If you're kind of hoping for Thomas Bryant and that doesn't work out later, maybe Jones is a piece of a 2v2 where you just upgrade something else. But yeah, I think Kawhi, as the minutes continue to climb, they said they're willing to play him 28, only 26 last game, but that's enough for him at 7K. Powell, Harden, I think the prices are fine. Can't sit here and say they're great, but they've continued to produce even with Kawhi in the lineup. This team's getting comfortable playing with one another. And it's kind of been reflected in the game log. So I'm fine with all of the starters here, honestly. Not going to say Jones is a great play. Certainly not. But the other four, I mean, point per dollar do look solid. There's definitely guards I prefer over Harden because he is a point guard more than he's taking shots in this offense. Like I'd rather play, I don't know, Eamon Thompson 10 times over. But yeah, I don't mind any of the starters here.
I'll just mention KPJ is like a deep pivot. Maybe if you need it, stuff happens. Projected for 15 minutes, but if he ends up getting a few more, he's only 0% owned. That's a possible pivot if you get stuck with Thomas Bryant, like I'm going to. I'll point out the only player that really stands out here is Derek Jones over on DraftKings. For OF Index, Zubac is close. Kawhi's probably fine at his price, 9.1. And then Norm Powell's okay. But yeah, just not that much to love here. Lakers are kind of, I don't know. We're missing a piece for sure in Luca, but we're missing other guys too. So
Yeah, no more Christie. Um, I don't know who else, but
I messed that up, dude. I meant to read the Lakers injury report. Luka's out tonight for the Lakers, so
yeah, they said Saturday. Sham said Saturday he's likely to debut.
nice. Last game of the
Yeah,
night.
congrats on that trade, by the way. I don't think we've talked since.
No, we haven't. Got the boys here. If you guys didn't notice, super excited about it. So love you, Anthony Davis, but it's a new era in LA.
Yeah, man, I'm envious.
Hey, man, you'll have the Nets will have their time. Don't worry. You guys have like a
Oh, I
million
know.
picks.
Yeah, it'll come. We got all the picks in the world. We'll be OKC hopefully in a few years.
Sean wants us to play Aiton, best play on the slate. Kamara's good too. What about Kamara? I'm pretty interested in both of those guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. Aiton seems to finally be playing consistent minutes after
Yep.
not doing so the rest of the entire season. He's gone for 30 plus, I think, in 6 straight games, which is what you'd expect. But yeah, up until that point, we hadn't been seeing it. So yeah, I'm fine going to Aiton here. I do think he's underpriced. I still think the algorithm's kind of catching up for, again, more consistent minutes lately, which we obviously love to see. I've talked about Kamara in the past. I love him as a shooting guard much more than I do as a power forward. I really like that Denny kind of won that starting job when Shady on Sharp or whoever it was out, and now he's starting next to Grant, which makes Kamara the spacer here. Just like his role much better in the backcourt. So I like Kamara. I like Aiton. I like Denny. Simons, I never get right. Like I barely ever play the guy. He goes off from time to time, so I probably won't get to him much. But yeah, the other starters look good. Jeremy Grant's not been great in the minutes. The minutes have been there, but yeah, Aiton, Denny, Kamara, the three Blazers I really have interest in.
If I'm not mistaken, Kamara hit 5 threes last night. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Looks really good. Like you've been talking about since he's moved over. It's a lot more confidence because he was on the court because of defense, but
yeah, he's out there for defense, but he's space as well. Um, like you said, 5 threes last night. You can't really count on that from Shady on or Scoot even most nights.
I want to point out this game went to overtime. So 45 minutes, I mean, 40 in regulation is still insane, but maybe they're a little bit tired. I don't really do anything to adjust for that. Just want to put that out there.
They're young.
Um, yeah, they're all young, dude. And this is the first day I'm not over the field on Danny in weeks. Very close to this, but I tried to get more. Guess there's a lot of other good plays, and I do like Aiden too.
Yeah, yeah, they're kind of priced where they should be, but they're fine. Good game environment.
I'm just gonna pull up centers real quick. DK value, uh, Cat, Porzingis, Khalil Ware, Aiton, and so I don't think we want to take a value center on DraftKings today. I think we just want to pay up because all these guys look awesome. Same with FanDuel. I mean, Precious, I guess, is kind of a value center, but Khalil Ware, Cat, Miles Turner, at Bam, Aiton, Claxton, Vooch, a lot of good plays today.
Yeah, I mean the one. If you have faith in Jackson Hayes, it would be Jackson Hayes. But I'm confused by the minutes against New York. I don't know if you watched that game. I didn't, but I think it's because Finney Smith is back, so he's tough to trust. And then we can use this as a segue into Indiana. Miles Turner is questionable. If he's out, Thomas Bryant as a center is going to be an elite play here. And I did just want to mention one last time: Sengun now a game time decision. If he's out, Steven Adams probably starts with Eason unavailable. He'd be very good value at center. So none yet, but they could be coming.
Okay. Um, so, like I mentioned at the top of the show, I clicked Miles Turner out. I bumped Thomas Bryant up, and I gave him a really conservative projection, and I have 50% currently. I think I'm going to go into the first lock with that, and then I'll make decisions as the other games lock. But we're probably not going to get that news before the previous set of games lock. So, I don't know. If you're tailing me on this, it's super risky, and I really don't know how much of an advantage you're actually getting by preparing early for this. Like, you're getting some because you're going to get more Thomas
More.
Bryant than everyone else. He's going to be the best play on the slate. Played terrible yesterday, but he still got the minutes. He shot like 10%. So if he just shoots like 40%, he would have smashed, and he still basically got there. And so I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm taking the risk. I'm going for it.
Yeah, like I said, if you're on DK, just make sure you get them into utility if you can, because you can very
Yeah.
easily just flip it to Jared Vanderbilt if Turner's in.
I'll point out with 15 minutes, 12.7 DK value is not awful. It's just he's 3,200. Yeah, I just mentioned we probably don't want to pay down in center, but this would be the one exception today. And so I imagine if this ends up happening, I'll have a lot of two center builds. Outside of Thomas Bryant, though, I mean, how do you want to talk about this team as if Miles Turner's in or out? Tell me about Tyrese and Pascal at the top end.
Yeah, I mean Tyrese. I mentioned it on the stream the other day. He's engaged now. Seems like he's calmed down on the road, and we're seeing that in his results. I think it's more likely that he was injured and he's getting healthy, but it's fun to speculate narrative. But yeah, I'm fine going to Hallie here, even on the back to back. Same with Siakam. These two have been super productive. Mathurin not closing consistently anymore. The minutes just haven't been there for him. I'm completely fine leaving him out. I'd mix in Nemhard before I would be mixing in any sort of Benedict Mathurin, but the two plays I'm most interested in this would be with Turner in would be Siakam and Halliburton. Turner himself would be viable coming off the injury. I don't know. Price where he should be though. So yeah, really Hallie Siakam regardless. If Turner's out, definitely trying to get to as much Bryant as possible.
Yeah, just like, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, 10.9 OF index at 8,500, I think stands out. Pascal's price is up on DraftKings at 7%. We can take shots, 9.8 OF index. To me, Miles Turner is really the only player that stands out in the model, 14.5 value, 14.2 on FanDuel with a pretty strong OF index. So if he's in, he's going to be low owned. I think he's definitely worth taking some shots, and I would end up pivoting over to him if we got that news. Let's build a quick dummy and get out of here.
Sounds good.
Who's your first play in today?
Let's see here. On DK, I really like Bam.
Yeah, let's do Bam at center. Seems like the easy one.
Yeah.
At point guard, do we want to do Darius Garland?
I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's a good play.
I like getting to him or Mitchell a lot.
Yep.
What else do we got?
I mean, our top value play in the model today is Jay Tate, and that's even before we get any sort of Sengun news. Could
All right,
definitely use him in his 22 minutes at 3,100.
let's try him at small forward.
Yeah. Yeah, he has both forward eligibilities, which is somewhat helpful. But I mean, Eamon Thompson's another one I really like from Houston.
I
Just
mean,
pick it on my nets here.
I'm gonna keep playing Eamon Thompson until he's
Hell yeah.
10K, dude. Let's get Eamon in there. Probably should have put Tate at power forward, but that's okay.
Either way, yeah.
I mean, did we want to swing in Grady Dick or Agbaji? I don't like them, but the model says they're okay.
I mean, if we can avoid it, I'm fine not having either. I'd rather go to maybe Cam Whitmore.
Nice. I was just about to say Cam Whitmore.
Yeah, that's a lot of Houston, but again, Whitmore comes off the bench. His minutes are pretty much 22 no matter what, so I don't think it matters.
Did you want to run it back with D'Angelo, Keon, or Zaire?
It would be Keon or Zaire, and whoever I say, the other is going to have a really good game.
We don't have to
I don't
force it
know.
in.
I mean, I don't mind Zaire as like a pivot off of the Raptors guys. I think he's a very similar play.
I could see a.
He had
Well,
39.5 fantasy points against Houston when these teams played on the first. So,
all right, let's plug
uh,
in Zaire. Leaves us 7,300 for two positions. I think we could plug in Porzingis, who the
I was
models
just
like a
going to
lot
say
at center.
Porzingis, we both really liked.
Yeah, where is he? So center only, but he's 7,100. Makes up for it.
Yep.
Is Zaire power forward or no? Well, you probably got to move something around, but leaves us 7,600 for a power forward. So gives us options. You could even get rid of one of these super value guys and go a little bit more even.
Yeah. Siakam's 8K, right? He's a little more.
Harden
Uh,
Zubac combo.
I don't hate it. I mean, eh.
It's not something I'm targeting, but it's not something I'm specifically trying to avoid.
Yeah, it doesn't feel terrible.
Drew Holiday or Zaire? Zaire by the model.
Yeah, I go Zaire. Obviously, Drew's the better basketball player, but he's sharing usage with Brown and Tatum.
Solid points prop today. These were good like an hour ago. Maybe they're still good. Mobley over 15 and a half points. Jared Allen over 11 and a half points. Terry Rozier under 14 and a half points. Those are the ones that I took. Do you have any?
I play them live. I like try to wait and to get a feel for the game lately. But yeah, I think maybe if Keon or Zaire are low, I think they could both get around 15 fantasy points today. So maybe check them out again. They're getting more minutes than D'Lo is right now, so those two look pretty good to me.
And those ones I just mentioned were available on pick 6. So yeah, so appreciate you guys tuning in. Smitty's in the Discord starting right about now. If you're not familiar, it's basically just a little bit more intimate session, get another perspective on the model. If you're interested in joining the Occupy site, you can sign up. Prices start at as little as $7 a week. It's $1 a day. It gets you access to all the sports plugs for the other sports we do plugs for. And Yeah, Nick, did you want to mention anything?
No, I think one more good points props, probably Rui. He's been crushing with AD out. But yeah, other than that, just keep an eye on lineups, keep an eye on news. Miles Turner's out, load up on Bryant. If Sengun's out, Adams is starting. Adams is going to look really good. So some news we're waiting on for sure.
Nice. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.